Alright, what's up guys? PeterJaguars here again. Welcome to our 2020 NFL Playoff Bracket Predictions video. The road to Super Bowl 54 in Miami is on. 11 games to play and predict. We're going to go all the way through here, taking our champion, hoisting the Lombardi Trophy, and the MVP to go along with it. Should be a fun run once again. We're doing this for the 6th straight season. It is the longest standing NFL playoff prediction series on YouTube, and as far as I know, the only person who's ever gotten one of these completely right did it back in 2017, and that, of course, our benchmark and aim right here in 2020. That means we do take a little more time with the research and information gathering, so I'm not quite as quick to the draw as some other people who have replicated this series, and that's all good. But if you're watching this, while the games are starting, during the playoffs, later, on for posterity, I appreciate you tuning in and making these videos so well supported. But how about this? We got games to break down. My voice is a little deeper than last year, and my knowledge a bit more keen. Let's get into it. Wildcard weekend starts off with the Texans hosting the Bills. Houston, of course, having won the AFC South to earn the 4 seed, and Buffalo nabbing that top wildcard spot in the AFC through a staunch defense and a vastly improved Josh Allen in his sophomore year. It will be tough for Allen, though, because J.J. Watt is set to return for this contest to bolster Houston's pass rush, and Allen's making his first playoff appearance, which is very difficult for quarterbacks. In fact, last year, in a similar light, I did not take Deshaun Watson in his first go against the Indianapolis Colts, who did prevail in that contest, and I think I'm going to lean with them. Yeah, more experience with Watson. They've gotten healthier, and the Bills a very solid team. This game is very much a toss-up. I'm just going to give the edge to the Texans. It feels uncharacteristic, but you wonder if New England was caught looking ahead and taking a bye week for granted when they dropped that game to the Dolphins in Week 17. Alternatively, they could have been fully prepared and just not that great this year, or slipping away, and I do think their offense has weakened a bit, such that this is a spot for Tennessee to maybe grab hold here and force a changing of the guard, pulling off the upset. However, very tough to go into Foxborough in the playoffs, and really, at the end of the day, for as red hot as Ryan Tannehill has been, and Derrick Henry leading the league in rushing, and this Tennessee squad that is very much on the ascent to where I feel concerned about the AFC South as a Jags fan going forward, I think that the Patriots are just going to bring together enough on defense, find what they need to do, and at least work their way through the initial game. It isn't always that we see non-divisional rematches of two teams that played in the regular season in the same stadium as that first matchup, once again in the playoffs, but that is exactly what we're looking at here with Philadelphia and Seattle. In Week 12, the Seahawks prevailed 17-9, and it was really a weird game with Philly having 5 turnovers, just not doing anything in offense, and perhaps emblematic of the Seahawks' entire season, still finding a way to win by just, one possession in the end. I think maybe that's what's going to happen again right here. Carson Wentz is actually making his first playoff start, and the Eagles have just been so banged up on offense. You lose Alshon, Deshaun Jackson, Ertz has missed time, Lane Johnson, Miles Sanders, list goes on, and the fact that they've squeaked into the playoffs is actually quite impressive. They very well could get through in this one because playing at home is a huge advantage. They may have a lot of those guys available, but I think Seattle just does one of their weird things where they find a way to work through and get on to face the Niners once again. If there's one game here in the first round that feels a bit lopsided, it is New Orleans, Minnesota. I do think that Kirk Cousins gets a bit more criticism than he deserves, but pound for pound, these teams don't quite stack up. When you go 13-3 as the Saints did, you probably should have had a bye. They get to be at home in the Superdome, all comfy, but upset that they didn't get that week off, and they should pencil their way through to take on the Packers. Deshaun Watson, Lamar Jackson, Pat Mahomes, and Tom Brady. It's not a bad slew of quarterbacks we have here in the AFC, right? And we will be spoiled to see Lamar take on some of these other studs because he's been so much fun to watch this season. The Ravens are as well-run a franchise as any. It starts at the top down. The coaching is great with Harbaugh, and Greg Roman has done such a fantastic job getting them ready and revamping this offense. When you give them an extra week to prepare here, I'm not sure that there's any team in the league that really stands a chance in this one. You'll have a better crack at them when they've been battle-tested a bit, and it's nothing against Houston here, but just so fond of this Ravens team, and knowing that I think they can keep up with anyone in pace, but also have a pretty solid defense to back them up as well, are able to work on here to earn a conference championship bid. New England will for certain go to play Kansas City if they win in the first round, but remember that the playoff bracket can reseed, so if a 6 beats a 3, they go play the 1. On the AFC side, it'd be Tennessee heading to Baltimore if they win, and Minnesota going to play San Francisco in the divisional round if they do beat New Orleans. However, in my scenario, with the Pats winning, they take on the Chiefs, and actually, they've played the other 3 teams I have here in the divisional round, lost to Baltimore 37-20, lost to Houston 28-22, and lost to Kansas City at home earlier in the year 23-16. For as good as they were early on in the year and beating a bunch of bad teams and, doing well against the Bills, of course, who are very respectable in their own division, they just haven't stacked up against the other top talent, and I don't know that they can keep up with Mahomes and co. Stephon Gilmore is a great corner and maybe the candidate, the best candidate for Defensive Player of the Year, but he can't keep up with Tyreek Hill, and if you send those cover zero blitzes against Mahomes, he really can just sling it with his one arm and let the ball fly through the air and find his guys. So this will be the spot where maybe the dynasty comes to an end. I don't want to say that in totality because you never know what's going to happen next season, but at least for this year, I'm taking the Chiefs to move on, and they'll go play the Ravens. I was at Levi's Stadium for the first matchup between the Seahawks and the Niners this year on Monday Night Football, and I don't think I've ever seen a game that deserved to tie more. I'm glad it didn't. I hate ties, but you get the feeling if these teams played 100 times, about 70 of them would go down to the wire, and it's that random fumble or dropped interception or holding call here and there that flips the game and makes that final difference to determine who wins. Well, Seattle having to travel, maybe you say that's a bit of a concern, but obviously they did win in that overtime contest. And I do like Kyle Shanahan a lot as a coach here to maybe have an edge. You'll get that random 30-yard pass to Kyle Juszczyk to bring him into scoring range or a trick play at the right time of the game and just find that moment that is able to create separation and make the difference. Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be battle-tested enough to make this one work as long as his defense can put in a solid job. I don't know that he's going to win it all on his own, but if they can, continue to be a little bit more healthy, and of course the bye helps them with that because they've been ravaged by injuries on that side of the ball as well, you do think that they are able to take advantage of the home field play and work on through. It feels like there's been a bit of a changing of the guard at the quarterback position this season. Whatever you think of Eli Manning, his starting job is gone, and perhaps his career as well. Phillip Rivers has fallen off drastically after being solid for a decade and change. Tom Brady has had far less success, particularly statistically, and I wouldn't be here just to dish out anodyne takes for my whole bracket. I genuinely don't think that Aaron Rodgers is that great of a quarterback anymore. And it's not that he can't still pull a crazy throw out of his butt. That's certainly within his range. And knowing that the Packers have a competent defense, plenty of weapons, he still links up with Davante Adams very successfully. They can get through in this game and could win the Super Bowl. It's not out of the question at all. However, if we took this game and moved it from Lambeau to the Superdome, it would be a mighty easy decision for me. And with it being even in Green Bay, unless they get that X factor of the weather or being just, rested from that week or the Saints have something up with them, a new injury or whatever, I feel pretty good about New Orleans to make their way through in this contest. And with Marshawn Lattimore there to match up with Adams, and knowing that the Saints team has to be on a mission after what happened in the conference championship last year, I do like them to pull off at least an upset in terms of the seeds here and make their way through as well. The Chiefs were able to take down the Ravens in an early season contest at Arrowhead featuring over 950 yards of total offense, but one of my biggest takeaways from the game wasn't the result or the yardage, but how aggressive Baltimore was willing to be. At the end of the day, their use of analytics is informed decision-making more than any other team. They go for it as much as anyone, attempted a 2-point conversion in that game and 4 fourth downs, and really knowing that they're going to adjust for a game situation if they see an elite offense on the other side, willing to be risky, and also having the personnel, of course, running quarterbacks, very useful for those short yardage plays to allow them to make some of those work. That gives them as good a chance as anyone to keep up in terms of pace and scoring. And right here, this game is one of those that looks like a toss-up because it is, but Baltimore, the best team in the NFL during the regular season, they're great on paper, and I think at some point during the playoffs, you're going to see a couple of those decisions, a fourth down here or something like that, that does allow them to find a way through, and right here, it's a Super Bowl berth on the way. Well, we talk about shootouts from earlier in the year. How about the 94 points scored in San Fran, New Orleans at the Superdome, and ultimately the game informing the tiebreaker to give San Francisco home field advantage for this contest? Certainly it gives them an edge here. I am inclined to look at New Orleans' experience as a big positive in this one. While some of these quarterbacks have slowed down, it feels like Drew Brees has sped up, and at least his connection with Michael Thomas has, but Brees still right on that range of almost breaking his own completion percentage record. Been so good since returning from injury, and it doesn't look like he's going to be stopping anytime soon. So it really will come down to the Niners defense to really put him to a halt if they are going to have a win in this game and get a Super Bowl run. I'm not sure that it happens this year, though. It's a team that should be back in this game very close. For while I'm probably a bit more confident in the Saints in the divisional round at Green Bay as I should be, I don't take this one lightly, and only with a bit of hesitance am I going to push New Orleans through. But yes, Drew Brees to take on the Ravens. And what a game this would be for Super Bowl 54. Tell you what, you take either of these squads, throw them in a random playoff bracket over the past decade, got a pretty good shot of making a run, and so it would be a shame for either of them to have to go down here, but plenty of entertainment from it. And spots to note, they haven't played this season. The Ravens have vastly improved their secondary. Earl Thomas adds veteran experience. Marcus Peters, Marlon Humphrey, guys who have been playing at a Pro Bowl level, and Jimmy Smith and Brandon Carr, supplemental cornerbacks that give them a ton of flexibility on the back end. They can lock up the Saints guys other than Michael Thomas. He's going to get his own. You know that's the case, and it's just a matter of him and Kamara trying to be as explosive as possible. In Orleans proving that you really don't need too many skill position guys to be involved if you find a way to work your key ones all the time. The Saints' defense is probably sort of a weakness for them, and maybe where they can get attacked. I don't know if they have the D-line and linebacking core to keep up with Lamar Jackson and Mark Ingram scrambling some of those option plays, breaking to the outside. If they maybe get worn down a little bit after having to play so many games, even if the Super Bowl does get you an extra week of rest. And with that in mind, it is a tight one for this one. I feel very good about both teams, and it could go either way. But I am going to take the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson to win Super Bowl 54 in Miami. Jackson going to be the regular season MVP and the Super Bowl MVP as well, as Baltimore dashes through the playoffs and takes the Lombardi Trophy here in 2020. That will do it for our picks, though. Ravens over Saints in the Super Bowl. Thank you for watching the video. Make sure you spike a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe, because when 2021 rolls around, you're going to want the playoff predictions once again. Let me know in the comments section what two teams you have playing for Super Bowl 54, as well as your champion. If your team's in the playoffs, best of luck to them. If not, enjoy the games regardless. And until next time, I'm out. Peace.